The backlash to DEI falls into three main categories: individual, organizational, and systemic. Individual backlash might look like an employee having reservations about a DEI workshop or not agreeing with a DEI policy. For example, shortly after the murder of George Floyd, when there was an influx of articles about DEI, I read about a study from Colquill, formerly the Center for Talent Innovation, that identified the number one reason white men in the workplace don't prioritize DEI. They said they were too busy. Not only is this deprioritization of DEI a good example of individual backlash, but it also points to a primary cause of the DEI backlash in general: a lack of understanding about how DEI programs, when implemented effectively, can benefit employees and thus improve the workplace environment. I'll talk more about root causes shortly. Organizational backlash to DEI can manifest as a lack of buy-in from leadership when it comes to DEI-related programs and policies, a lack of funding for DEI-related programs and initiatives, and performative allyship. Performative allyship could look like organizational leadership proclaiming to support DEI, but not greenlighting programming for Black History Month. Years ago, when I worked as an assistant professor at a small private university in Connecticut, my manager asked me to develop a DEI certificate program for the business school. The department, and the university as a whole, had demonstrated that they didn't care about Black faculty or students. When I had brought my concerns to the university's DEI committee and diversity manager previously, they brushed them off. Yet here they were asking me to create a program that would generate money for a university that wasn't doing anything to truly embody the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a prime example of performative allyship, and I'm sure you've seen something like it within your workplace. Backlash on a systemic level looks like the anti-DEI laws that impact DEI policy at a state and federal level. In early 2025, when Trump came into his second term, we saw a lot of systemic backlash in the form of anti-DEI bills and executive orders. The pro-DEI sentiment, which had reached a peak in the summer of 2020 and the years that followed, started shifting dramatically. The United States, in many ways, sets a precedent for the rest of the world. When people got tired of centering Black folks for what felt like milliseconds after Floyd's murder, the tide started to turn. Suddenly, the same people who had knocked down our doors for us to write anti-racism books and host anti-racism book clubs, those who had begged us to speak to their companies and universities about racism, the Black experience, and racial equity, were now tired of talking about racism.